Hello, guys. Welcome to Mentorship Monday. I just want to give it a couple of minutes and get a few people joining on, and then we're gonna kick it off. So let's see. Nebza, hello to you. You're the first person on, so we're going to give it a few more people. There we go. Sibo, hello. Namhla. And then it says in 5 others, so I don't know who 5 others are. Nandisa, beautiful name. Hi Nomsa, hi Lucy. Hello. And let's, Dals is love, always love to see you. It's so beautiful when I see names that I feel like I know now, because these are all family and friends, all of you guys that come on. Hi Pumla. Rocks, Nandisa says, I'm other. No, you're never going to be other, Nandisa. It's just this thing does this interesting thing, and it says, and others. Lerato, hello. Cindy Siwe, hello. Karabo, hey. Lesley's here. I'm so excited Lesley's here. So we're gonna put her on quickly. Ingaka, hello to you. Quartermain, hello from, is that Rwanda? Is that the flag? Quartermain, Kobas, maybe let us know where you're from. Spiwo or Sipo W Zamanyeza. And oh, Bridget, nice to see you. So Bridget says, I'm also other. Bridget, by the way, likes to downplay herself. She's a kick-ass technology specialist at Google. So it's really nice to see you here, Bridge. Tanzania. Okay, cool. I'm getting my flags all confused. That's Quartermain from Tanzania. Lucy says she's in Cape Town. Hello, Lucy. Yeah, guys, let me know where you are. So let's get a sense of how, oh, look at that, how big and global this conversation is. Ella, hello from Botswana. Thank you so much for being here. I suppose I'm supposed to say Dumelang, because that's, I would imagine, Kisetswana in Botswana, right? Ntombe Entle and Hlatse and Zintle. Hello. Tsulu, hello. Okay, so, you know, guys, we could say hello forever. But I just wanted to, Pale is in China. Oh, wow. So I don't know, I don't know what time it is where you are, Pale. Maybe you'll let us know. I wanted to just today say that we're going to have like a dual focus in our Mentorship Monday session today. So remember that a lot of you were asking me questions about fellowships, and it's so interesting how I think you make a comment in passing, and then a lot of people say, oh no, we actually want to talk about this. So I had made a comment in passing about having participated, I think in 3 fellowships, so 2, and currently I'm in 1 now. And a lot of people saying, oh, okay, we actually want to talk about this. We want to know, thank you for being here, Palet, despite the fact that it's midnight. A lot of people are like, yeah, but we actually want to, have a conversation about fellowships a little bit. Why do people want to be a part of fellowships? How do you get nominated? How do you make it work? How do you make it count? So I actually thought what would be a really good idea is that instead of just sharing from my own experience, which although is there and real, is a limited experience, right? I thought it would be better to also bring another person who's had multiple experiences of being part of a fellowship, and she would also be able then to share her experience. So I want to say that I'm so excited because Lesley was on that Mentorship Monday, and I know she's absolutely amazing, and I can't wait for her to share to respond to some of the questions that you've asked. And then once Lesley, once we're done with the fellowship conversation, I'm going to pick up some of the questions that you had sent to me as well. There's another theme that's beginning to come to the surface, and that's the theme of creative. So a lot of guys are saying to me, but Nozi, how do I price in the market if I'm a creative? And I don't have the answer to that, right? Because I'm not a creative, but I think it's such a good question that we are actually out looking for a creative right now that we can invite to Mentorship Monday so that they can actually come and share some of their thoughts around, what is the experience of pricing in the market for creative services, and what does that look like. So Liz, let me see if I can either add you, or if you can request to add yourself, and then I'm just going to accept that request. So let's maybe do that. Let's bring you on, and then we're going to do, okay, there we go. So I'm going to invite you to join. Hopefully you're going to be able to pick that up. I do want to say that I'm so excited that Lesley has actually agreed to be with us today. She's been down sick since last week and wasn't feeling great, and has actually, despite still not feeling great, decided that she's not going to miss this opportunity to share some of her experience with us. And you can see the load shedding gremlins have got her good and proper. Hi, Liz. Can you hear us? Okay, so we can see you, but we can't hear you yet. So maybe let's just check in with your audio. We can't hear you. All right, so while Liz is doing that, Liz, just give us a shout out when you're ready. I just want to also just say thank you so much, guys. Well, we still can't hear you, Liz. Thank you so much, guys, for sending all your questions. They keep coming, and they're such good questions, and I'm really hoping that yes, we can. Oh, okay. We've lost her. So she is struggling with load shedding, guys. So as soon as she gets back on, we'll get to some of the mentorship questions. In the meantime, let me not waste time. Let me pick up some of the other questions. So I'm going to start off with the fellowships conversation. So there's a question about Zingi Dubula says, what work experience puts you at an advantage to be accepted into a fellowship? So maybe let's start. Okay, Lesley says I must invite her again. So let me do that and invite sent. Okay, so we'll probably see Lesley again. So firstly, let's just talk about, Les, can you hear us now? We can't hear you. Shame. Okay. I know the frustration when we are, there we go. Can you say something again?
I can hear you. Can you not hear me?
There. I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Let me try with them. I must hop onto another phone.
No, I can hear you now.
I can hear you.
Okay.
Still nothing.
Okay, perfect. So let's start right at.
Yay!
Okay, great. Let's start right at the beginning. Excellent. Maybe let's just get just a quick introduction about the work that you do. What does it mean to be the CEO at Tshimologong Precinct? What does that mean exactly? What's a day in your life? What does that look like?
Sure. So I'm the CEO of Tshimologong Precinct by Wits University, which is a digital innovation space. So all about creating world-leading African digital entrepreneurs. I'm also a process facilitator, and my real interest behind all my work is look at where and how I can create spaces for people to live their full potential. So it started in terms of me moderating dialogues and facilitating change management, but then I started seeing people didn't have access to tools and resources to take the next step. They may discover what they want to do with their lives, but they didn't have the support infrastructure. And that's what we do at Tshimologong. We have spaces to support people from making sure that their technology is feasible, but that they can also create viable business models and take it to market. So we run programs and mentoring, but I won't go into all the details. I think that is it. But for me, it's really the driver. Whatever platform you've been given, including for me, Tshimologong Precinct, it's always about how do we support people to live their full potential in this context from a digital innovation perspective.
Okay, fantastic. So we're talking fellowships for the next 10, maybe 15 minutes. So some of the questions that came through were, what do you need to get into a fellowship? What about fellowships that are age restricted? So someone says, Tembisile was saying, is there a fellowship for over 40s? And then Kosi, who I think sent a brilliant question. Kosi was asking, how do you choose which fellowships you will accept? How do you get nominated, and what are the benefits of joining or being part of a fellowship? So it's a lot of questions, but maybe let me first give you an opportunity to share around how did you first get into your first fellowship? How did that come about?
So quite often when I've gotten into fellowships, it has been by nominations. So someone nominating me or someone reaching out to me, and sometimes it's both, and saying, this looks like it's the right community for you. consider joining and look into it. And so I've been invited into a few fellowships. I haven't always accepted them, and I'll get into the reasons why, but maybe I'll just name a few I'm part of. Common Purpose was my very first one in 2005. And, you know, as a young person, I didn't have that much of a track record, but I think what fellowships often look at is what have you contributed to society? You know, that is the first point of call when they consider you. And I think, you know, even before applying to fellowship, I think one needs to be super clear about what can you both contribute to this community, but also when, how is it going to enable the next step that you want to make from a leadership perspective?
I think that's a fantastic response, Liz, in terms of really thinking about what have I achieved or what have I done? How have I served? Almost as a badge that gets you the nod into the fellowship. And then also, what am I going to contribute into this community? I think it's such an important one because oftentimes I think we see fellowships only as stepping stones to the next leadership journey or the next leadership rung. And it's very much part of that nomination process is that when we're nominating other potential fellows, we're also looking for people who have a track record of having served. So I think it's such an important thing to Zingi, to your question, what experience? Well, it's not so much about work experience, but it's really about service experience. I mean, if I think about the fellowships that I've been part of, and I said, you know, I've been part of the Young African Leadership Initiative, as well as a Tutu Fellow and now an Ali Fellow. All of those nominated, but very much all of those looking at, in fact, I'll tell you a quick story. For one of the fellowships, and I won't say which one, I was nominated and then I had to come in for an interview. And they looked at my CV and they said to me, "You've got a very colorful, interesting CV. You seem to be in the business of picking up big fancy titles. We're not interested in your CV. We're interested in you and what has Nozi done for others." And that was such a provocative question because it was actually, Zingi, to your question, not about my work experience, not about the things that I had achieved for myself, but it was very much about what have I done for others and how have others benefited because of my journey. And as a result of that, what did the fellowship stand to gain from me participating in it, which I think is really interesting. Liz, you raised a very interesting comment when this theme first came up, and your comment in the chat was, be careful of being a fellowship hopper. So let's first start there.
Yes.
What is a fellowship hopper?
Sure. So, you know, if anyone is in the entrepreneurship space, we speak about incubabies, people who hop from incubator to incubator and they never run and grow their business. In a similar way, there are increasing questions starting to be asked about people who go from fellowship program to fellowship program. And the question is, what impact have you made as a result of being part of this fellowship program? Now, I've been an advisor on fellowship programs as well. So maybe I'll name the ones I've been on and ones I've advised on. So you can start seeing the communities that are asking these questions. So I've been on Common Purpose. I've been an Obama Leaders Program Fellow. And in fact, I've been invited to be a mentor to the consecutive years of Obama leaders. I've been accepted on World Economic Forum Global Shapers, and I have a story there about why I didn't accept it, which I can come back to. And then the ones I advise on is Ashoka, Echoing Green, Monash, and Yali over the years. And people are starting to take note of those who go from fellowship to fellowship program. And I think there's nothing wrong with being on a few fellowship programs, but for me the question is, where and how have you executed or implemented what you've learned in the real world? Mm-hmm. And at some point, even as leaders, we then ask questions again. Then it may be time to be part of a fellowship program where you're part of a community again. But if there is something like 6 to 18 months where you've just been on fellowships and impact hasn't shifted, questions are being raised over there. And in fact, it's not a good look, to be totally honest. People are raising questions.
I love that. So last question before we let you go. We want the World Economic Forum story, right? Because if I think about, you know, that World Economic Forum fellowship, Global Shapers is like, you know, like it is one of the fellowships of the fellowships, right? So you look at that, it's a global fellowship. you're part of a community that is shaping the world in different ways and forms. Why did you say no? Oh, Les, we've
If I may, I want to pose a few questions for the fellowship program. So just very quickly, World Economic Forum, I was accepted. It's quite simple. I saw that by the time the fellowship starts, I would have surpassed the entry age, I think 30 years old. So I declared that. And they thanked me for declaring it and then asked me to be a mentor. When I told other people about it, they told me I was actually quite stupid. They said loads of people are beyond the end age once they're in the program. But for me, it was a question of integrity. And I think this is something that keeps coming through across fellowship programs. What are your values, your set of values? And for me, integrity is a big one. And I felt when this program starts, I would have gone beyond the age requirement. You know, so I would have gotten in, I would have been brilliant in the program. And I know a lot of amazing people on the program. But for me, it boiled down to integrity.
Okay, awesome. So what are the questions you want to leave us with?
Sure. So with every fellowship, you're asked to write the motivation letter for like this 1 to 2 pages. So I just put through a few sets of questions to think through. So I'll read through them quite quickly. So the one is, again, what's your track record of making a difference? What systemic change are you passionate about making a difference? So that could be future focused. You don't necessarily have to have worked in it. What purpose are you serving that's broader than yourself? So again, the theme of service keeps coming up. What are you most passionate about making a difference in, whether it is clear how you'll get paid or not? What are your values and how have they been demonstrated to date? And then finally, what are you best known for? And are you collaborative? Now, the reason why also these keep coming back is that when you are on a fellowship program, even when you get in, then what? You can't for the coordinators to activate the network or activate opportunities. You're the one that is to reach out to other fellow members, invite them into your work, either by contract or onto your advisory board, or find ways to collaborate, offer your service. And by me doing this, amazing opportunities have happened. I'll just name one. I can name 10, but I'll just name the most prominent. Was me moderating a dialogue with Barack Obama and Mam Graça Michel in Washington, D.C. And again, this came from me being active in the network, creating opportunities for others, being noticed because of my contribution, and then being invited to apply for that job. But again, that stood out because I was the one activating the network and creating values for others and myself in doing so.
Lesley, thank you so much. So I'm really appreciating time. Thank you. Even though you're not feeling well and load shedding is happening, you've made time to join Mentorship Mondays. Thank you very much. So as Lesley started off, I just wanted to pick up a couple of questions around, you know, you're all asking questions. There was a question around, are there fellowships for over 30s? Tembisila are saying, are there fellowships for over 40s? Right now, I'm part of a fellowship where I think I'm the youngest member in that fellowship, and the average person in the fellowship is like 50-something towards 60s. So, and when my very first fellowship, we were all sort of in our early 20s. So there's a range of fellowships across the different life milestones, if I can say that, and ages. So it's all just about looking. And if you're really interested in a fellowship, look up that fellowship. Most fellowships will actually have a database of all of the fellows. And if there's somebody in that community that you know, reach out to that person for them to talk to you about what's the impact of that fellowship, what have they gotten out of it, and say to that person, you know, what would it take for you to nominate me? I don't think that we need to be, I really don't believe that we need to feel ashamed about putting our hands up and saying, please nominate me. If you feel that this is something that you're ready to participate in and you just need somebody to see you, put your hand up, reach out to that person and say, I'm keen on this journey. Can I please have a conversation with you first? Ask all of the difficult questions, ask all of the things around what's the real time commitment? What does it take to make it really count? And then say, would you consider nominating me? And remember, a nomination doesn't always mean you're in, because oftentimes fellowships will have committees from different parts of the world sometimes that are going to go through all of those fellowships and then choose the people that they think are best suited and most ready for that particular fellowship. So all the best, guys, crossing fingers, and really hope that those of you who are interested in fellowships really found that this conversation was useful. Two things we're going to do. We've spoken about the creative conversation. So we're going to get a creative in, and we're going to talk about the money behind the creatives and really trying to help some of you guys with the creative questions. And then the other thing that was raised last week was, Nozi, please can we talk about boards? How do we get onto boards? How do we serve on boards, and how do we make impact on boards? And as and I consider myself still young, a relatively young woman on boards, I think it's a very important conversation we need to start having, so that we're intentional when we occupy those seats and we make our board seats count. So we're not just there in numbers, because we're making up the demographic that company is looking for. We're there because we've actually got substance and impact that we're going to leave on the table, including value. So I want to talk about boards as well. So I do want to get to some of your questions. So Sunflower sent me a question, and Sunflower says, what lessons have you learned about recruiting the right people for your team? Sure. And I think, Sunflower, this comes from, I think I mentioned in passing last week that one of the hardest lessons about being an entrepreneur has been about making the wrong hiring decisions. So I'll be the first person to say, I haven't always gotten it right. I've made many mistakes in the hiring process. But I think the biggest lesson is understanding that, you know, that first 3 months where you want to say to the person, look, this is almost like a probationary period, that you too understand as a leader and an entrepreneur in your business that you and your business are also on probation, right? So it needs to be a very authentic conversation to say, this is not just about the employee, but the employee equally should have the space and the opportunity to say, actually, these are the things that actually are not working out for me while I'm here, and how important it is to have that conversation early on in the journey. And I know it's really difficult, because oftentimes if you've just landed a new job, the last thing you want to do is be telling your employer all the things you don't like about the new job. But trust and believe me when I say, you'd rather get that employer on side, either get them to start making the cultural changes that you're seeing, or help you find something else, rather than stay on, leave miserable, because you're not happy and the person that's employed you hasn't been happy as well. So Abigail, thank you for the question. My friend Mbongeni, very nice to see you on here as well. So I've learned early on that probation is a two-way period. It's both about me putting that employee on probation, but also them putting me on probation. The other lesson that I've learned is, you know, we always say in South Africa, it's so hard to hire people permanently, because the red tape is so difficult if it doesn't work out. But you know, one of the things that I've told myself is that even if it doesn't work out, I'm going to try my level best to keep open communication with my team, so that they're able to come to me and give me the heads up to say, Nozi, I don't think I'm going to stay on beyond the next 2 or 3 months, in the same way that I would give them a heads up to say, I don't think it's working. So let's see how we transition you out. How do I support you? Which of my networks can I open up for you? And how can I help you with a good reference letter, maybe a good networking connect for you to actually make the next jump. Hiring people is painful, because I think sometimes especially if you founded something, your expectations of how people care about what you built and what you're building sometimes can be a little bit out of sync. Remember that people aren't always born with the passion that you walk in with to your work every single day. And so you've got to cultivate that passion. And the reason why I say it's painful is that when you have to do the work of convincing people why they should care about the quality of the work, why they should care how they speak to your clients, why they should care about how they dress, why they should care about what they look like and how they speak and how they write, and why commas and full stops are important. Because as a founder, you almost have the sense of, if you care about this, surely these things would be obvious to you, about the importance of just keeping to time. But you've got to do that work. And you've got to role model the behavior that you want to see in your team. So you're constantly under pressure. Even when somebody puts something in front of you and you're like, oh my goodness, has everything that I've been trying to teach you not landing? You've got to take that in. You've got to take a deep breath and say, how would I want to show up for this person right now? And if I'm going to come down hard on them, I need to understand that I'm going to shut them down. They're not going to come back. They're not going to come to me for help. And the likelihood is that they're going to make most mistakes going forward. So I've got to make it okay to make mistakes. And literally, guys, I'm not speaking textbook speak. You literally, as a leader, have, without patting people on the back because they made a mistake, but when people come to you and they've made a mistake, you really have to take a deep breath and say, okay, let's have a conversation around what could we have done differently that could have led to a better result. And that's where the conversation is. And you've got to always remember that people have reasoning capacity. And if you just check your own emotions, they can reason and problem solve themselves and probably get the learning and the lesson themselves. It's not easy. It's not easy. And for somebody who's like a perfectionist like me, at times I expect my team to be performing at a particular level, and oftentimes I need to remind myself that my team are different individuals, and the reason that they are on the team is because they're bringing something different to what I bring to the table. Bridget is saying, I remember asking you, Nosy, to say my name in rooms that I'm not in, and that gives you, oopsie, Bridget, I've just lost it. Oh, there it is. It says that gives you the knowledge that I'm interested in fellowships, but I was not specific. I've learned today to be specific. Thank you. Yes, Bridget, come call me and tell me which fellowship you want me to nominate you into. Let's have the conversation. Be direct, guys. Some things are not going to land because we are being too politically correct about them. Sometimes you've just got to say what you want and then hope for the best. I just pinned Abigail's comments. Abigail is saying, I'm in consulting and I'm in the consulting and coaching space and I need an assistant. I'm so anxious about getting the right person. I'm so OCD. Guys, let me tell you this. There's no such thing as the right person. There's no such thing as the perfect person. Every person who comes to work with you is going to come with their light and their shadow. Just like you as a leader have your own lights and you have your own shadows, right? They're going to come look for strengths that complement your strengths. So look for people to join your team who can do things that you can't do. And then allow yourself to be led. And for me, I think that was my biggest breakthrough, is to say, even as a leader in my own business, how do I allow myself to be led by members of my team doing things that I'm unable to do or are not able to do as well as them? And if we don't give the people the space to lead us, we're then not feeding them with that accountability and ownership and the sense that what we're building together is also theirs. So allow yourself to be led. Allow yourself to be a good leader. Can also be led sometimes. And I think I agree with you. I'm so OCD myself, right? I struggle with these things as well. I want certain things done a certain way. And I've got to always remember when somebody on my team says, but Noz, there's a different way of doing it. And I need to pause and I need to hear that so that I can try it. And I always say, I'm open to trying anything, but if it doesn't work and there's no lesson for us to lift from that gives us enough data to do it your way again, then we'll go back and do it my way. But you've got to have, one, allow yourself to be led. Two, have a coachable mindset as a leader. I don't know why I wanted to say man at the end of that, but be a coachable leader. You don't know everything. I will tell you if you guys look at my social media pages, you can tell that I've got somebody who's helping me with that. I don't know the first thing about, timing tweets and timing, when this thing needs to go out and when that caption needs to be done. That's not me. What I do know is that I'm true to my voice. So I'll always work with my team and say, let me look at the captions and what you're putting together so I can make sure that it's me. But I don't know anything about graphic design and all of the amazing things that my team leads for me. The other thing that I've always openly admitted is I hate Excel. I probably know just the basics, how to do the basic columns and whatever. But now when you're starting to do calculations, that's not my strength. But I have somebody on my team who's kick-ass at that. So when we have to run budgets and we need to do forecasts and we need to look at, which clients, what are the trends across our clients, which regions in the world are we making the most money, where are we losing money, where are we not having traction, I've got somebody who's able to track that for me, and that empowers me as a leader. So just look for people who know how to do things that you can't do, and then do the work of cultivating their passion for why they're here, and what they do, and how they do it. It's neither here nor there. As long as they care deeply about the thing that you're doing together, they'll always figure out a really innovative way that works for them to get the job done. Okay, cool. Abigail, I hope that was good. Stabile, love you. Your question was the one about pricing of creative work. What's the right way of going about pricing creative work? So remember that what we've said is that we're going to get a creative. I've got somebody in mind that we're busy stalking right now to help us think about, for those of you guys who have gone on to commercializing, for example, your creative arts, commercializing a range of creative services and products. I know nothing about it. So we're going to get somebody just like Lesley did to join us very briefly at the top, just to share some of their own insights and tidbits for us. So I hope that is helpful. All right, Slindo Buhle, who is my number one person. Slindo Buhle will wake up on a Sunday, and Slindo Buhle would have liked all of my posts or my captions or my stories overnight. So Slindo Buhle, thank you very much for always just showing up and always just being so super amazing. So Slindo Buhle sends a question, and the question is, what is your daily routine? And goes on to say, it's often said that you don't become successful in a day, but it happens daily. In other words, being successful starts with the little things you engage in daily. Whew. Okay, so I don't have, my days don't look the same. So let me put it like that. So my days don't look the same. I do a range of different things. So today, for example, I've got makeup on. That's because I woke up in the morning and I went and I facilitated a strategy and culture session for an executive team for a global company, actually, in partnership with my LRMG colleagues. Yako, I saw you on here, and Yako was a part of that today. And then after that, I joined a quick brainstorming meeting about a different delivery that I'm doing with the same team for another global client. And then I went to Investec, and I had an interesting meeting there that is setting up some interesting work that's coming online. Got onto a call about a script that I need to be writing for an investment conference gala dinner on Wednesday, and only caught up with my team actually at 5:30 today. So I hadn't actually spoken to my team at all until 17:30. And today looks very different from from Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday last week. However, that being said, what are some of the things that are rituals in my life or daily practices that are consistent? So I sleep early and wake up late. So I sleep. So when I say wake up late, I mean, I actually go to bed 9 o'clock. I mean, I'm probably lights out by 9:30 unless I'm at a gala dinner or something like that. And I sleep all the way through to 6 a.m. if I can get away with it, even to 7 a.m. I'm a big believer in managing my energy cycles. I don't do very well with napping during the day. I don't have time for it. The kind of cycle that my life and my work takes on doesn't give me the opportunity to nap during the day. So I maximize on my energy overnight. My friends, when family will tell you, if you send me a WhatsApp after 6, unless you give Pimali or something, honestly, I'm not going to even engage and respond. I'm really finished by then because I go at like 200 kilometers an hour throughout the day. I'm a high energy, high impact person, and I understand my energy cycle. And so I know that the only way that I get to refuel is having a really good night of sleep overnight. So that's one. I used to do, I'm quite active in terms of loving to do exercise. I've fallen off the bandwagon a little bit simply because I've just been going through a number of medical processes, which maybe one day I'll talk to you about. And so I haven't actually been able to train. So those who know me, I would be boxing. I love to box. I love to run. And I'm a morning person. So when it comes to training, I'd always try and fit that in the morning. So first thing that I do now that I'm not training, first thing that I do when I wake up, I shower immediately. I'm a huge believer in get ready for the day. So even if I'm working from my home office where I am now, I don't do this thing of, oh, I'm working from my home office, therefore I'm going to look like I'm working from home with my camera off. I speak to people on all my meetings. My camera is on, I engage with people, I connect, I look them in the eye. And because of that, I wake up, I shower, I look the part, and I show up, irrespective of what the day looks like. And then I come into the office. So I also don't work in the house. So I'm really blessed that my home office is like a wing that is attached to our house. So I literally have to walk out of the main door to get to the office. So there isn't an interleading door, which is actually really helpful because it's a mindset shift for me to actually move from that one space in my life and then come to this different space. When I'm here in front of this laptop, I am in work mode. And I'm very disciplined about being in work mode. One of the things that is absolutely sacred, and my team will tell you this, is my calendar. So my calendar is going to reflect everything that I need to do for that day, but including when I need to take breaks, including when I need to just go inside, go grab a cup of coffee. I've got a lot of support. Our helper, hello Lerato, our helper preps meals for me, brings me ginger tea, brings me water and ice lemon. So all of these things are constantly happening while I'm working, especially when I'm when I'm stationary and I'm not traveling. So that's just some of my routine. I stop working typically around 6:37 p.m. Every night. And that's just a function of just how much work I feel that I need to get through in order to stay on top of everything that I need to do. When I can, it's really nice to go and cook for my family, but it doesn't really happen very often. And then I veg. So once I'm in the house in the evening, I'm vegging. So between 7 and 9:30 when I go to bed, it's a shower, it's Uber Eats with my husband, it's watching junk on Netflix or Showmax or whatever it is that's happening at the time. And I'm literally just tuning into my husband, tuning into my family. And he works a lot sometimes. So sometimes he's working throughout the night. So I'm literally just hanging out with him as he works on his laptop. He doesn't work from home, but when he does come home with work, he'll work in the house. So I'll just hang out with him, but I won't necessarily, he'd be working. So that's my routine. I'm a stickler so my husband always says, I have a look about me that hits at around 7 a.m. in the morning. And that's the look that says, I'm in work mode now. Don't even think about it. And so my work is my routine, but I'm very clear about when I'm on and when I'm off, my energy, my schedule, and yeah. So I don't know if that's helpful. It's a very boring life, as you can see. But every now and then, we'll try and fit in a date night, try and, host people over, have them for dinner. But for the most part, that's what I do Monday to Friday. And then weekends are just, unless I'm traveling, weekends are all about my family, and nothing else. Okay. Then somebody says, okay, they call themselves 2-3 Creations. It's an interesting name. I'd be interested to know what you do. And the question is, what is the difference between a conversationalist and a conversation strategist and a moderator? It's an excellent question. What's the difference between a conversationalist, a conversation strategist, and a moderator? So I don't know what a conversationalist is. I hear people using that all the time, that they are conversationalists. I don't know what that means. When people refer to me as a conversationalist, I always tell them I'm not a conversationalist, I'm a conversation strategist. Now, to the second part of the question that I think I'm able to answer, what's the difference between a conversation strategist and a moderator? So when I first started moderating, what would typically happen is that clients would call me in at the point where they've done everything that needed to be done for that conversation, and they just need somebody to moderate that conversation, right? So they have come up with a theme, they've decided where it's going to happen, they've decided that they're going to have 4 panelists, they've chosen the 4 panelists, they've even thought about the talking points that they want each panelist to focus on, and they're literally bringing me in as a moderator to say, okay, this is the conversation that we want to have. Sometimes as a moderator, you are still expected to contribute your intellectual property in terms of the questions and how those questions are going to be asked. Fair enough. And in other instances, you have a client that says, I already even know the questions that I want you to ask these guys. So you're really being given a script. Doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen in some instances as a moderator. Now, the difference between that and a conversation strategist is that my clients don't call me at the end of the cycle. They don't call me at the end of the value chain. Typically now, I'll get a call a year in advance, and a client will say to me, in October next year, we want to have a big conversation about this particular social issue. Can you come on board to help us think about it? So what we're doing is that we're going back to the strategy that informs why they feel they need to talk about that particular social issue, right? And we're saying then, if this is the social issue, what is the best way of having that conversation? What is the best platform to have that conversation? Is it a panel discussion? Is it a fireside chat? Is it a town hall meeting? Is it a televised debate? So you're going right to the beginning and helping the client think through the different tools and instruments at their disposal to unlock that strategy. You're then also playing a very big role in guiding the client around who are the right voices to bring into that conversation. So why are we going to invite Dimpo or Kay or Pauline or Tandiwe as into this conversation? So you're looking at the voices that are aligned to that strategy, and you're putting in front of the client the different options and why you would recommend those voices. You're building the conversation, so you're designing the entire flow of the conversation. So I've oftentimes had clients who think that they've designed a conversation, and I have to say, okay, guys, love you to bits, but let's deconstruct this a little bit. We're not going to do that at the top. You can't do this. You must do this for better flow, for better engagement, for better connection. You can't come across as an organization that speaks at its audience and speaks at its clients. How do we ensure that we help you have a conversation with your clients, with your different stakeholders, right? And so you begin to see the difference between a moderator and a conversation strategist. Thank you so much for that comment around the Fab Makoti, who I went to school with, talking about the ownership of the full value chain of the conversation. That is exactly what we do. And so there are clients who are not ready for a conversation strategist and are just ready for a moderator. So they have a sense of what they really want to do. And you have a conversation strategist like myself coming board and saying, okay, I know that's what you want to do, but let's bring the strategic lens to what you're trying to achieve. Let's help you bridge the gap between the intent that you have and the impact that you're going to have. And how do we unlock different strategic tools to do that? It's not the same thing. Now, having said that, I've noticed that a lot of people are calling themselves conversation strategists, and I'm okay with that, because I think although they're probably more moderators than conversation strategists, I think with time, as the world normalizes this idea that we don't come at the end of the value chain, that we actually have such a critical role to play at the inception of a conversation, slowly they're going to step into their posture as conversation strategists. I just think it's not fair to say to people, don't call yourself what you aspire to be. I think there's nothing wrong with calling yourself what you aspire to be. And the more you do that, the more you step into that posture for yourself, the more you realize that there's a fundamental difference between the two roles, and that sometimes there's a time and place for moderation. There's nothing to say that there's anything wrong with moderation. There's a time and place for it. And there are also clients who are just not ready for conversation strategists because they think they like the word and it sounds sexy and whatever, but they want to give you a script. I don't want a script. I do that myself. But I can see if you're moderating how a script might just make your life a whole lot better. Okay, let me pick up some comments. Yako, thank you so much for that. Sharon Sunshine says, conversation strategist seems to have great value, add an understanding of the big picture from the beginning. Absolutely. And I think, you know, Sharon, I think it's also about walking a journey with your clients so that they trust you to live into that identity for them. A lot of clients will hire you initially just as a moderator, and that's fine. You meet your clients where they're at, right? And slowly, as you build that relationship with them, you show them the additional value that you can deliver for them. And as you add that additional value, and that additional value allows you to more confidently step into your identity as a conversation strategist, you begin to see that identity come to life. And I know sometimes it just sounds so arrogant when I say this. I mean, I was doing the Mandela walk, the Lead Like Mandela walk with my husband on Saturday morning. Was it Saturday? I think it was, yes, Saturday morning. And somebody came up to me and they're like, oh my gosh, you know, I didn't realize you're going to be here. I love your work, da, da, da. And I was hoping that I'm going to reach out to you for a Women's Day event in August. I'm like, it's July. It's July. As a conversation strategist, I can tell you for free, I'm not available. Because people who understand the value of what we do have put, for Women's Day events, have probably booked us last year already, or at the very least at the beginning of the year. If you want a moderator, you're probably going to get one, but you're not going to get a real conversation strategist in 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, so let me try and see if I can pick up some more. Luciano says, how do you build up from being a moderator to a conversation strategist capacity-wise? So Luciano, as I was saying, you need to meet your clients where they're at. If they're hiring you as a moderator, you step into that space as a moderator. But what you're trying to do is to demonstrate the value that you can add as a conversation strategist. You're constantly pushing the boundaries around things that they've taken as a given, and you're trying to show them different ways in which you can do them and the impact that you can have. So meet your clients where they're at, but then show them what's possible when they engage you in the identity that you are offering to them. So to the person who is this Gugu is saying, what's a conversation strategist? So Gugu, please watch this. We're going to put it up on our YouTube page. Oh yeah, by the way, guys, so our YouTube page is so new. We're literally uploading all of the Mentorship Mondays. Last week, I think the guys were telling me that we just had like 56 followers or subscribers or whatever. I think we're now up to 100. So guys, subscribe, please, because this is where we are posting these things, right? And so that we're, you know, you can actually go, you can go back to them, use them, listen to them in the way you see fit. So I've got 10 minutes left, and I want to, those were the questions for this week, but I do want to talk about something, as always, right? There's always like a little gem, if possible. So Peter's asking the question again, how do you harness your communication skills? Peter, we spoke about this, I think, in Mentorship Monday #1, which was, we were talking about Toastmasters. For me, the best way to harness your communication skills is to join a Toastmasters club. I've been part of Toastmasters for years on end, and it's been the biggest differentiator in my life. So I want to do a quick scan and say, are there any questions? The name of my YouTube channel is Nozipho Shabalala. And the reason apparently why it doesn't come up right at the top is the team says that there's so many other videos that are pushed by organizations that I've facilitated for that come before. So you've got to actually go down and look for it, Pale. So please look for it and be my one extra follower after today. So I want to use the last 10 minutes to touch on any the YouTube channel is my name, Nozipho Shabalala. I want to touch on any hot button issues that we haven't had a chance to talk about. But but I do want to talk, because it's Women's Month coming up. So let me talk about something that is very close to my heart. And I really hope that all the women that are on here today are going to hear my heart as I speak about this. So one of the things that I always talk about is the accounting principle, substance over form, right? So basically the accounting principle, substance over form, basically says that if you really want to know the financial health of a company, you can't just look at the form of that company. So you can't just look at the structure of the company. You've also got to look at the substance of that company, and how the structure of the company enables the assets of the company to do work for the company. So it's a very technical accounting term. I didn't do accounting, but I love the idea when I first heard it, that in order to really truly understand the value of something, you've got to look beyond its form, and you've got to look at substance over form. Okay? Now, when we think about, especially in the South African context and even globally, the conversation around the empowerment of women, and we're going to be having this conversation in the month of August, for the whole month of August here in South Africa, right? And we're going to be talking about how we want more women on boards, how we want more women in political leadership positions, how we want more women as CEOs, how we want more women across all sectors, and so on and so forth and so on. My question and my challenge and my provocation to every single woman who is on this Mentorship Monday call today is, what is the substance of what you are leaving on the table over and above your form? Because remember, your form is the same as mine. We're both women. And if the form is about being a woman of color, well, I'm also a woman of color. And if you're going to say, well, no, it's about being a woman of color and I'm young, in my world, relative to the people whose company I keep, I'm also young, I'm black, and I'm also a woman. So my form is not enough. My form is not enough. So what we need to start doing and start thinking about quite deliberately is, what is the substance that we're leaving on the table? Because I'm in the room, what is going to be fundamentally changed in the blueprint of what I found here because of my substance, and the substance being the value that you bring into the room? Now, here's the thing. This is why it is such a shame if we are those women who get invited into these spaces where we are the only woman, the only young woman, the only black woman, the only young black woman, whatever the case may be. And we sit at the table and we keep quiet. Because what you're showing up with in that moment is form. You are assuming that your form is speaking on your behalf. And let me tell you this, the next person who looks like you can deliver the same form. So you have to use your voice. You have to ask the difficult questions. When it doesn't feel right in your gut, you've got to be the question that you've got to be the voice that says, is this a universal truth that cannot be challenged? And if it's true for you, have we made an assumption about it being true for me and her and him and so on and so forth? And so all the people who would otherwise be at the periphery need to feel that they're being brought closer to the center because of the substance that you're bringing to the conversation. So guys, you know, I get so worried when I step into meetings and I'm meeting clients, and there are young women on these meetings, young women of color on these meetings, and then the meeting starts and finishes and this young black woman has said nothing. Why are you there? What substance are you there to deliver other than being a Microsoft Teams initial on my screen, which, by the way, I hate, another thing for another day. So can we please tune in this August to substance, Bahlali? Can we please just make sure that we are not content with just being in the room? The other very unpopular thing that I often say, unpopular because some people read it as me bashing another woman, and that's far from it. Our beloved former Miss South Africa, Uzozi Bini, says we should occupy space. And I always say, guys, it's not enough to occupy space. It's not. You've got to expand space. Because you were there, somebody else should be able to be there too. Like this idea of that you're going to come in and you're going to occupy space, and then we're going to celebrate you for being the first woman or the only woman or the young, until when? The way you measure your success is how many other people who look like you or who would otherwise never had an opportunity to be in the room are able to walk in through the door because you're expanding space. Right? It's about being in meetings at your place of work, listening to the conversation and hearing the person who has said nothing, and being the person who says, what has Lynn got to say? Sulu, I haven't heard your voice. Ella, what do you think about what we're talking about? You've got to be the bridge between the outsiders and the insiders. That's what substance is about. You've got to be the person who asks the difficult question. Because when we ask the difficult question, that's how we get to breakthrough answers. And if you're going to sit with your discomfort and sit through listening to people talking about things that make you uncomfortable, making decisions that make you uncomfortable, using language that makes you uncomfortable, and you're not going to call it out, well, guess what? You're actually part of the problem. And that's my message to women this August month. Don't be part of the problem. So here's to wrap it up, okay? Oftentimes I'll have clients come to me and they'll say, I want to come back to Peter's question. I just want to pin it because I'm going to forget. So I'll have clients who will say, the culture here is toxic, or the culture here is this, and the culture here is that. And I always say, guys, just go back to the last time you were in really, really bad traffic. Like, think about the last time you were in really, really, really bad traffic. You know what? The only reason you were in bad traffic is because you are traffic. If you weren't there, there would be one less car on the road. So you are the culture. You are a contributor to the toxicity, I hate that word, I can't say it, that you find in your environment. If you're in a toxic workspace, how have you contributed to that workspace becoming toxic? What are your own behaviors that make it worse rather than make it better? And so the point that I'm trying to make with this is that if you are the woman who's made it through the door, and then you sit and you close the door behind you, and then we continue to lament the fact that there aren't enough women in this and enough women in that and enough women of that, trust and believe you're part of the problem. Because you are enjoying too much being celebrated as the one and only, that you're not doing the work of expanding space, is what I wanted to say. Now to the comments. And then before I run away, before you all kill me, because I know I've touched people on their studios. So, all right. All right. So, thank you, Lynn. Thank you. So, Matsidiso, form is not enough, Nosy. What sets me apart? Substance. And maybe we should have a whole thing about what is substance and what is value. For me, it comes back to personal brand. So maybe that's an opportunity of something we need to talk about, because I think we're very confused about what a personal brand is exactly. Oya says, I used to be one of those where I was scared to speak up. For me, I have realized that this comes from when I was young and no one spoke up for me when I was abused and my family protected him. Oh yeah, I'm sorry to hear that you had that experience. And I love the fact you say, I used to be. And so my suspicion is that you do use your voice now. It's the most important tool we have. It's the most important weapon that you have, because once you've spoken it, once you've said it, it can't be unsaid. It's like you can't unring a bell. No, when you ring a bell, you can't unring a bell. It's rung, it's rung. Ask the question. Raise the discomfort. And even if you don't get the result that you're looking for in that moment, the fact that somebody has said this is not okay makes a difference. And you can be that person to say, this isn't right and doesn't sit well with me. Yako says, you've got my brain short circuiting. Yako, I don't want that. I don't want short circuiting brains, guys. Please, I don't want to get people in trouble. Oya goes on to say, now I understand where that insecurity came from, and now I know I have value to add. I have a contribution to make. That's the highlight contribution for me, Oya. Thank you so much. And Pearl, I'm going to take yours last, and then Peter's, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Pearl says, I suffer from imposter syndrome, and as a result, I struggle to speak out in meetings. I normally note them down, my thoughts and the difficult questions, and discuss with the partner separately. Pearl, please go watch last week's Mentorship Monday, or last week or the week before. We spent a lot of time speaking about imposter syndrome. And please stop giving your IP away to the partner who's probably taking your ideas and owning them, as well as intentioned as they may be as an individual. Please, write it down, fine, then read it out, if that's what's going to help. And then read it out. But don't hand over your voice. Don't hand over your substance for somebody else to use it. These are your thoughts. This is why you're here. So I'm pleading with you, if it makes you feel better to write it down and then speak it. Okay. Princess says, that is the difference between being in a position of privilege and a position of power, using your influence. And Sizinka saying, we should talk about what substance is. A lot of us second guess ourselves and our views. Pearl, okay, so Pearl, if you're saying you watched it last week, guys, let me know if we need another conversation about, I thought we spent a lot of time about speaking about self-confidence and imposter syndrome and how self-confidence and self-belief work together. But if I haven't done a good job, please just let me know. So to Peter's question, to close it off, Peter's saying, but shouldn't they be raising their voices without being asked? So Peter, I'm making an assumption here where this is where I was saying that you need to use your voice to bring people in who are quiet, and you should be the one to say, what does Zippo think, or what does Dumo think, and so on. Just by reading some of the comments, we're all sitting with so much fear about getting things wrong. We're all sitting with so much fear of being embarrassed in front of others. We all sit with so much fear of being ashamed in front of others. And so people don't always say what they think. So here's my definition of psychological safety, another topic if we want to talk about it, which is, a lot of people are talking about psychological safety right now. Essentially what psychological safety is arriving at a place where people say what they feel safe enough to say. So think about that. People only say what they feel safe enough to say. So if I don't feel safe saying it, even if I think it's right, I'm just not going to say it. And so we can't judge people for their silence. What we need to do is make it okay to say what we feel, even if it's wrong, even if it's not perfect, even if it's not the smartest thing. But how do we get people to trust their voices a bit more? That's one of the jobs of being a leader. Because if people only say what you want to hear, I can guarantee you that's the fastest way to failing as a business anyway. And I can tell you in politics, it's probably the same as well. So guys, it's 1904. It's time to say goodbye. Even my dog is barking now. I think they're like, hey, 7 o'clock, it's time, it's come home. So thank you so much for being here. These sessions are so enriching for me. I feel like you guys push me to new depths in my tummy and allow me to speak to things that I really believe that the world needs to hear. And thank you for trusting me with the space, and thank you for your questions. And my promise to you is that when I don't know, I'm going to invite someone to come and help us, because I'm not going to know everything. I don't know everything. There's certain things that are just completely beyond my realm of understanding, but there will be other people who know. So also, guys, if you've got people that you think, oh my gosh, this person would be so good for psychological safety, or this person would be so good for us to talk about boards, or this, just send me a DM, send me a young DM, and I will invite that person, and they'll help us to respond to some of those questions. Thank you to all of you, and thank you for all the thank yous. I appreciate them so much. They're so fulfilling. I can now officially go and wipe my face, wash my face, and get ready for the evening before it's time to go to bed. Tima, so thank you very much. Bye bye.